Hi everybody, and today's activity, this is an illustration of some shapes. Notice the background is pretty dark. Notice the line that goes into the background behind the shapes that you see here, and some of the shadows and the backlighting. For this activity, your objective is going to be to draw what you see in each block of grid A on grid B. So here's grid A, and here's grid B, and the lines are already there for you. So what I need you to do is to line up the dots as you see here and draw these lines very lightly as shown here. What you want to be able to do is use these grid lines and draw what you see in each corresponding block, but you really, in the end, you want to draw these lines very lightly so that you can erase them later, so that you don't see the grid and only the drawing. Now I'm going to line these up here as shown, and this only works if you have a photo reference to work with your drawing. Here we go. Now, once you've got the grid done, what we're going to do is this, and the strategy for this is pretty simple. If you take a look at this illustration of a baseball, and what you see here is a part of the illustration, and when we break down complex images into basic, simple shapes, it's easier for us to understand what it is that we're drawing, and we're able to draw with accuracy. When we look at the negative spaces as shapes, well, we're able to see those empty spaces as shapes, and it helps us to better understand the positive shapes and spaces that everyone is going to look at when you complete your drawing. If you want to, you can break down a single block into even smaller segments so that you can see and draw what you see in each block. Now, as you can see right here, what I've done is I drew a line through one of those blocks, and you can draw an even smaller grid, and even smaller than that if you wanted to. And when you look at what's happening in the photo reference, you're going to be able to draw this with photorealistic accuracy. Now, it may take a little bit of time, but you will get a very positive and amazing result. Now, to help you out, because when you look at the grid, it can be a little bit confusing, and if you start the drawing and if you're in the wrong block, well, it's going to be out of registration, and that can be very frustrating. So to help keep your eyes from being confused, let's take a look at block 1 right here. Now, as you can see, it's just a lot of shading. Well, that's what you're going to draw then. It's going to be just the shading. Now, if you notice, if I press hard with my pencil, I can get the same level of darkness as shown in grid A. So I'm going to draw what I see. Now, I'm going to, for the video purposes, I'm going to draw this a little quickly and fill this in. Now, when we take our pencil and we shade in different angles, like I'm doing here, this is known as cross-hatching. Cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is a drawing technique that involves shading in at different angles, and what you'll see is that it fills it in a lot faster and smoother. All right. Now, here we are in this block here, and what I'm looking at this point are the negative spaces. And to me, they look like triangles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it as I see it. I see a little bit of a breakdown here, and I see where it looks like this part of the cone is coming right at the intersection of those lines. So let's get that in there. The top of that cone is a little rounded, as you can see. And then let's pull this up into there. You can see that there's a very dark core shadow, and then the shadow kind of fades around, showing us that this is not just a flat shape, but a curved, rounded cone. The darkest part of a shadow is known as the core shadow. It's where the shadow first begins. Now, I'm going to look at how those lines are handled, and I'm going to take my time with it, and I'm going to draw it in as I see it. Now, when I break down this image into very basic shapes, it's a lot easier for me to draw with accuracy. Now watch this. This is pretty dark around here, so let's fill that in and let's see what happens. It starts to take on the lightness of the photo reference. That's pretty accurate. And already I'm starting to get a result that looks like that of the photo reference used. Now there was a line here, but I'm just going to draw right over that, and as you can see, it blends right into the background. I don't see the grid anymore. A lot of subtle little shadows in there. And there we have it. We have the first part of our drawing. I can come at different, I can shade in different directions and really smooth out that core shadow just like you see there. Alright? Now, here we have, I can go down one, and right about here you can see where there's a little tiny triangle right in there. Do you see that? I'm going to fill that in, and it looks like that ends exactly right at the intersection of those lines. What I'm dealing with here is a lot of shadows. So let's take that core shadow and feather that out, just like we see in the photo reference. Now, if I continue my drawing the rest of the way using this approach, the grid method approach, it's going to look just like it. Now imagine if this were a portrait of someone that you know, or of a celebrity, or of a music star. Well, you're going to get a likeness just like the photo reference that you use. But the trick to this is to remain patient, stay focused, look at what's happening in the picture, and translate that over into the grid. So for this activity, you're going to spend that time shading in, coming in at different directions, and make all of those little subtle adjustments that are needed to make an image like the photo reference using the grid.